Welcome back to another episode of Dental Marketing Theory. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help level the playing field against the big DSOs out there that are gobbling everything up so you can grow the way that you want. But today is going to be an interesting one because I have Maritza, who's the CEO and founder of MDent Consulting, and she helps new dentists launch new practices. And you're going to be surprised what she knows about your associate dentist. She's going to break down the psychology of why dentists actually want to leave and start their own practices, as well as how she also helps them with that. So this is going to apply to everybody. You're going to want to pay attention to this one. Stay tuned.
I have a client right now who said, Maritza, the treatment plan that I want to provide for my patients, I cannot do it because of management. So she's clinically not able to deliver to the patients what she would like to do.
That's a group of people that most people don't focus on, is the associate dentist, right? Especially from the consultant side. So I've met people who are consultants when it comes to like helping them eliminate their debt, because they're usually, these associate dentists have tons of debt, but I haven't seen a lot of other consultants. Tell me why you decided to focus on that group of people.
That part in their career where they felt like, I've had enough. I'm not able to do the dentistry that I want to do with the materials. I have no control over the culture of the practice. I want to build something that it's mine, something that where I can leave a legacy for myself, for my family, and for serving the community how I want to treat them.
All right, we are live, and I'm excited to have this conversation with Maritza today. So why don't you tell me how you got into the dental industry?
My story on how I got into the dental field is it's a funny one. I started my career in 1998 working as a dental assistant. I worked in a supermarket.
Oh, wow.
I was a cashier, and there was a dental assistant school right next to the supermarket where I worked. And so I started entry-level positions, scrubbing instruments, taking x-rays. Long story short, the dentist that I worked with for, interestingly enough, had a vision for how he wanted to grow his practice. He was a young dentist, pediatric dentist, and he purchased a second location. So 5 years into me working as a clinical assistant, an opportunity rose for me running this new startup practice. So in 2004, I sat for the first time as a front desk person in a practice that was a startup. And without having a lot of administrative background, I was able and managed to grow that practice from zero to $2.8 million in revenue over the course of 10 years. And where my story is a little bit different from a lot of, people that I feel so grateful for is the fact that 5 years into me running that startup practice, I developed a lot of relationships with different, vendors and agents from different insurance companies. And I was really into building relationships. So an opportunity came up where we were invited to participate in a partnership that led to an expansion to 15 locations. And so I started with this one dentist, young dentist.
You didn't jump in the shallow end. You were like, hey, let's just jump in the deep end.
So one of the things is, I just gained so much experience with going from office to office and helping with the whole operational development for his practices, that 18 years into me doing this for him and becoming regional manager of this multi-group practice and turning it into a DSO with that same, dentist that I started with, that's when it hit me that there were so many missed opportunities for associate dentists that were actually working for this group and had the dream of starting their own practices and didn't really know where to start.
So is that like the main people that you're helping right now is like people who are like associate dentists that are transitioning to wanting to buy a practice? You've probably noticed this before, but this podcast is unsponsored. What that means is we don't get paid to do it, but we want to bring you the best information possible. So how do we make sure that this content stays on the air? We need you to like and subscribe. Wherever you're at, whatever you're listening on, just give us a thumbs up or subscribe, and that helps us out so much. I know that you probably haven't done it, so I'm just going to sit here and wait until you do. 95% of our listeners have not subscribed to our podcast. So go ahead and do it now. Don't make this awkward. All right, good. Back to the show.
Yes. So basically my role is to help the associate dentist who it's just that crossroads thinking, do I continue to work as an associate? I've been working 5, 10 years, working for a corporate or working for a private practice, and they feel that they've already met and checked all the boxes in their career, and they really feel at crossroads on whether they take the leap and start their own practices or they remain working as associates. So I like to take these dentists, whether you are acquiring an established practice or if you're doing a build out in a startup from scratch, I want to be able to provide the guidance, the support, the step-by-step process to help the clients or help the associate dentists save where they need to save and optimize reimbursement and how they do things to be able to be profitable faster.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously that's a group of people that most people don't focus on as the associate dentist, right? They're, especially from the consultant side. So I've met people who are consultants when it comes to like helping them eliminate their debt, right? Because they're usually those associate dentists have tons of debt. But I haven't seen a lot of other consultants. So tell me why you decided to focus on that group of people.
Well, it's because as I was working and expanding, I saw that a lot of the young dentists that were starting their families, and as I said before, they had this passion for dentistry. They wanted to start serving patients under their terms, being able to manage their future and their careers better, and also leave a legacy for their families and start something. They have this entrepreneurial mindset. And I feel that I also had that same develop that same passion for just starting something new because of my exposure to having opened so many practices for that employer of mine. And so for them, it was that part in their career where they felt like, I've had enough. I'm not able to do the dentistry that I want to do with the materials. I have no control over the culture of the practice. I'm starting my family, and I am also I want to build something that it's mine, something that where I can leave a legacy for myself, for my family, and for serving the community how I want to treat them clinically. And so those are the things that I started to notice with some of the associates actually that were part of the group. And they said, Maritza, I have 2 small children. I am, I want to be able to start my practice, but I don't have the time. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the team in place for me to be able to do this and do it in a way where I select a smart location, that I surround myself with the right people, that I manage my spending and all of the things that it takes a lot. I mean, this is like their biggest purchase potentially besides the debt that you were just describing and so for them, it's a huge liability and risk to take on a lump sum of money to start and fund their first, practice. And so being able to have someone guide you through that process, hold your hand, hold you accountable, protect you, and see you from conception all the way till the part of you running your practice successfully is extremely important. And when I noticed that in some of the associate dentists, and particularly one of them that approached me, we started our career similarly. Like, she encouraged me to start to a certain degree because she was at this crossroads that we're talking about where she wanted to start her own practice and she didn't know how or where or who to ask for help, right? And so she had seen me go from office to office to office, helping this dentist who was looking into becoming a DSO and not taking on partnerships, which is, one of those fallbacks for like discouragements for you working as an associate where you feel that there is no room for you to grow other than being an associate. So when she reached out to me and she approached me and she said, I'm opening my practice. Would you be willing, to help me? You've already opened so many locations and practices for your boss. So, and I said, I will definitely help you. And that's where I was personally driving from office to office, 6 hours, 3 hours, as I was helping with the expansion of the group. and I was starting my own family too. I wasn't able to be home at a certain time. I missed out on a lot of, things with my newborn, that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Montessori mom and do, everything holistic. And by the time I was 3, my baby was 3 months old, I had to be back to work. And I also wanted to have the freedom of managing my schedule and my time. And so I was like, this is an opportunity for me and for you. So let's do this. And to be, just going back, it was such a rewarding and scary thing. But I will tell you this, Gary, that one client that I'm sharing her story, she was able to make $1 million in her first year as a startup. And when we sat down a year later to have lunch, she was like, Maritza, it was just such a rewarding experience to be able to do it for someone who was just not another number for the portfolio to become that DSO and then sell and do this thing. It was just like helping another woman, another mom, another new first-time business owner. She was like the very first business owner in her household.
Wow.
To take on the leap, the risk of starting her business. And so that's how MDent was born, out of this need for myself to have a better schedule for like being there for my family, and out of the need of this associate dentist that was starting her family, was the first time doing this, and she knew that I had been there, done it. And yeah, that's how MDent was born.
So a lot of our audience are going to be like practice owners that are listening right now. So getting inside the mind of their associates is something that they really work on a lot. What would you tell me is like the biggest reason that associates want to leave the associate and open up their practice?
I think is control, and a lot of times is depending on the setting, right? Like if you have a practice, a private practice setting where you feel that there's mentorship, you're being clinically, coached or mentored by the owner. That's important. That proximity and being able to feel that you're being mentored through your career clinically, and that you have a say in and participation with materials that are being used, that you're able. I have a client right now who said, Maritza, the treatment plan that I want to provide for my patients, I cannot do it because of management. So she's clinically not able to deliver to the patients what she would like to do, and she's limited because this is not her place. And so that's one of the biggest things. I think mentorship, it's a big one, and control over the treatment, and a lot of times, the culture in the office, and having feeling like there is partnership with no equity to a certain degree as they're growing and developing their careers.
So let's reverse engineer that a little bit. So if you were a dentist and you had associates, what would you do to keep them around? Would you give them equity in the practice, make them business partners, since that's what they're looking for?
I say that it depends on your vision as a business owner, right? Like the dentist who is the owner has a vision for their practice of expanding, or maybe they want more freedom. You want to be able to get someone that it's in alignment with your vision, that can actually help you free up some of your time. And when you find that right associate, you're going to want to create a form of a partnership where they feel that they have room for growth and development within the business, both financially and also as part of the management and the administration of the office. Because dentists are really smart individuals who spend a lot of time studying and getting clinical excellency training. But at a certain point in their careers, they want to be challenged both clinically and also their leadership skills, and they're growing their financial knowledge and wealth, and being able to participate and take part in the growth and development of the practice is going to be extremely important for those private practitioners that have this vision. When you're a DSO, we're as a corporate company, it is important that you also have the understanding that some of these practice owners are going to come in, and it's a transitional experience because they're gaining their experience, and it's not to hold it against them, because every dentist, if you think about it, goes through this, right? Every dentist starts working as an associate for someone, and they're sitting in that office thinking to themselves, if I were the owner, I would do this way, that way. I would do this much better. Now, the problem is the same self-talk that you're having as an associate at the private practice owner that you are today, they had that same self-talk about the dentist that they worked for as an associate before they took on the risk of starting their own practices. And it's almost like this vicious cycle. And that's where consulting development comes into play to help make sure that you have clarity in your vision and what you're going to do so that you can make either a partnership or an associate doctor relationship work and last and be beneficial for both parties.
Good points. Good points. Yeah. A lot to think through there. There's a lot of psychology involved in that. What is your, kind of changing gears on you, what would you say is your normal process? So if I came to you and I said, okay, I'm an associate dentist right now, I'm doing pretty good. I'm making about $300,000 a year. But I definitely want to own my own practice. I want to make $1 million a year. Eventually, I want to own 2 or 3 practices. How does that engagement look and feel? Like, are you working with me for a year, 2 years? How's that work for like paying you? Like, do you have standard setup? Like, how does that all work?
So one of the very first things we do is we have a discovery call where I ask you a series of questions. And based on those questions, where you want to live, where you see yourself, your family situation, and your financial situation, right? Like you need to figure out where is a smart location for you, where you're going to add value, and where you're also going to be fulfilling your personal vision and needs, right? So we start by having that discovery call, mapping out the best areas for you to select to start working with a broker. We run a lot of the demographic reports of circling out certain areas and pockets where the numbers drive the information. We look into the patient to doctor ratio, competition, comprehensive, competitor analysis. Do they have a website? How many, like all these things that are going to help you improve on what's out there, but and replicate what works and improve on what's not, what isn't. So once we take, and sometimes it takes 6 months, 3 months, a year for you to find, because this is a long-term commitment. This is your first business, your first baby. And it's not like any business. I grab my computer and I go someplace else and I can relocate. So it needs to be really, really planned out, right? Like I feel that success is where planning and opportunity meet. So we start by creating that plan where we execute, what's your vision? Who do you want to treat? What are the specialty services that you have? What's the alignment and the need in the community? What's going to be the business model? We go in and then we start looking for potential locations. Once we find the right location, we have you work with a team of experts to help you negotiate the terms on a lease that makes sense for you, where you're protected. And we help you reverse engineer, to your point, $1 million practice. We've developed a break-even and revenue blueprint where we take our clients and we say, this is $1 million practice, but these are your startup costs. This is your budget. As you're interviewing and you're working with all the different vendors, what is going to be your ongoing operational expenses going to look like based on the business model? What is going to be the cost of a patient seeing you, so that we tell our clients, this is how many patients you need to see a month, a week, a day, an hour, in order for you to cover costs and be profitable. So we are able to predictably tell our clients when they're going to break even and be profitable. And so we've been able to reverse engineer that blueprint, revenue blueprint, where our clients are able to have their hands held and action plan on the monthly basis to achieve that $1 million practice.
That's so awesome. Great job. That really, really cool that you're doing this, because is there other people out there helping people like this? Is there
there are other companies. Yes, yeah. There are other companies that, but I feel that a lot of the companies that are offering this service either have a background in the finance or like dental equipment reps, but they really lack the after we open support, right? Like I feel like we can build a house and the house can be an amazing house, but if we don't have a good home that it's set up for success, which is the practice, this is where the return on investment is for us as business owners, how we build our business. And so a lot of the consulting companies, they charge a lot. And then where the doctors need the most help, which is on setting up the practice, optimizing reimbursement by negotiating with insurance companies based on their business model, support with hiring and putting the team in place, support after opening with making sure that they're meeting up to the needs of the community and the team members, and are able to have that support post opening. So all the intangibles of working, having worked in a dental office personally and having worn every hat myself, then I can pretty much differentiate myself in that sense, where I focus on helping you get the smart location, but develop an amazing, profitable practice.
All right, last question for you. So, actually, two more questions for you. So, what if somebody owns a practice already and they just want help on launching another one? Do you help them with that?
Yes. So basically, if someone has a location and they feel like, hey, I just, I made some mistakes here, perhaps I can get some support, getting someone to not outsource, but like just do it in a way where it makes more sense. It's more streamlined. We have a lot of checklist systems in place. We develop all of this by office number 5, working with my former employer. We had to sit down and say, okay, we need to create our startup toolkit, because it just becomes, with so many different vendors and so many people, it takes an army to launch a business. And so, yes, for sure. I have done that in the past, and I'm happy to, help anyone that wants to expand and open a second location.
Awesome. And how can people get a hold of you if someone wants to reach out and get more information or learn more about what you're doing? What's the best way to connect?
Sure. So my website is mdentcs.com. MDent C for consulting, S for services.com. That's the best way to find me. You go there, you schedule a discovery call, answer a couple of questions, and then, we'll hop on a call and see how we can best help you and become your guide.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on today. You did a great job, Maritza.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. It's amazing.